It is good that we all can be together tonight, and nice to welcome you in the center and re-welcome you again. We've had a chance of having Denise for, it seems like the past 3 weeks, but it's been just one day, right? When the presence of someone is of such a high quality, it just feels time is expanding. And so we've been really enjoying and welcoming Sister Denise here in Montreal, and welcoming you all. So the evening will be in English. We'll translate in French if anyone needs a French translation. If you need Hindi, Tamil, Spanish, Portuguese, other translations, I hope you speak English. That will be fine, right? It's always difficult to introduce Denise because she has so many roles for many of us. She's a friend, she's a sister, she's a teacher, she can be a mother, she can be sometimes almost a director, pushing us a little bit forward. Sometimes she's just an angel, sometimes she's just silent. She has many, many different facets to her personality, but one that I'd like to introduce to you tonight is the fact that one of her main desires is to make very beautiful understanding, beautiful knowledge available and clear enough so we can appreciate and understand that knowledge. And we say sometimes truth is simple, but we make it so complicated and we get so lost into it. So it's good to have angels, teachers, sisters, friends who can help us understand the knowledge better. And Sister Denise has joined the Brahma Kumaris almost 45 years ago. I know she looks like 45, so she was a baby, but she was a grown-up baby when she started. And you know, it's been a journey that we never expected to be that long. When I met Sister Denise, I was 22 years old, I think. So I looked 23, but that was a long time ago. And we've been seeing each other growing, aging, maturing, wisening, and following the path together and along with so many others. And I think that 45 years later, after thinking about this knowledge for so long and applying it, teaching it, seeing the result, I think it's really a great privilege that we have to spend the whole evening together and have a chance to see the tricks to lead a life without any worries. So how long will it take us to understand how to get free from worries? 1 second. So 1 second will be that, and all the rest will be just entertainment. Is that okay? So welcome again, and it's very nice that you can be with us tonight.
So those who want to have everything in French can go to the back there. And the rest will be in English. So a care, what is a care? There's two kinds of care. One kind of care is worry. And the other kind of care is look after. Right? So now, first of all, I want to know what you're all worried about. Are you worried about anything? Nothing. Any worries, brother? What you got? The future. Yeah, yeah. Young people today, they think there isn't any future. Quite heavy, right? This is a problem for young people. They don't see a future. When we were young, we saw a future. Now young people, like 8, 9, 10-year-olds, they say, I don't see anything. So, you see something or you don't know? So uncertainty, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. So that's one kind of worry. Okay, anybody else have any worries? No, I bet you do. Any worries? You just don't want to say. Okay, Brother Eric has a worry. What's your worry?
Not to be able to achieve the highest goal that I've set for myself.
Not to be able to achieve the highest goal I've set for myself. Do you also share that worry? Yes, so you do have some worries.
Someone said the planet.
The planet? You worried about the planet?
Someone said that, but it's not me. But
Okay.
there
You're
is
worried
a
about the planet. What's the problem for the planet? Pollution. Okay, so are we going to be able to live healthy? It means breathing. Huh? You want air to breathe? And what else? Plastic, too much plastic. Yeah? Are you ready to give up plastic? It's very difficult to give up plastic. No more plastic bags, no more, plastic shower. They're all plastic. They look metal, but they're plastic. No more plastic bags. That's okay. No more clothes pegs. Straws. Yeah, straws have been banned. Straws. Yeah, but you know what? In the ancient time, before plastic, straws were made of straw. That's why they're called straws, and they work just fine. And they're biodegradable on top of that. So straws, we could still have those straws. Okay. So we're worried about the planet. We're worried that we won't be able to have a healthy life. We're worried that we won't be able to achieve our highest goals. We're worried about the future. What else? Can't hear?
Failures.
Worried about failure. Fear of failure. Okay. Yeah. We could fail.
And the last one, worry about death.
Fear of death. Can we equate worry with fear? Fear of death. What is death? Afraid of death? How many people are afraid of death? Have you checked it out? Have you tried dying? You only get really one chance, but you could have a near-death experience. Anybody had a near-death experience? No? They're quite useful because then you realize you can survive death. And then you have less worry about it. Anybody ever failed at anything? Okay, so look, you see, they're still here. Fear of failure, we can survive failure. Actually, I always tell people failure is quite good because, you develop courage, you develop this, you're willing to be imperfect. It's actually quite good because perfectionism is something you should really be afraid of. Failure is good. Ego goes down a bit. Yeah. It's survivable. Death, it says in the Gita, every time you're born, death is certain. And all the people who are dead, rebirth is certain. So, what we really should have is fear of continuity. But we don't have fear of continuity. Do we? No? Any other fears?
There are lots of fears. Fear of not being loved.
Oh, well, that's a good one. Anybody loved enough? No? Do they love you enough? Not really, huh?
The source.
Huh? They should love you a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, I think this is quite a big one, you know. It's not even that you fear of not being loved or not being loved enough, but there's a bit of a certainty about not being loved and not being loved enough. Is that right? Yes? So you want love. Actually, the desire for love is a very deep desire, which troubles the soul very greatly. Actually, it's quite a big one. So maybe we should go into that one. Yeah. We'll not do, what were we trying to do, a carefree life? No, we won't do that. We'll do how to get loved. That's better, right? Okay, let's do that. Change the topic. So, love. Love, you can say that, well, let's begin with love as one of the quintessential qualities or characteristics of the soul, right? So these quintessence means there are 5 essences. So one is love, one is peace, one is power, one is purity, and one is bliss. You see. But the one that, I mean, people say they want peace, but really they want love. In one of our teachings very recently, it was stated that people desire, need love and then also power. You need power as well as love. And power means that you're able to do what you want to do. That's called power. So all of these fears, like fear of failure is I'm not able to do, passing my tests, or fear of not being able to achieve what I set out to achieve. That also need more power. We changed the topic. I hope it's okay. And we won't give up doing a carefree life, and now we're doing how to get more love. That's okay, yeah? Because actually it's a very fragile matter, because it's a matter of your heart. How many people have a broken heart? Broken heart? Have. Not had. Once you had it, you're still there. Broken heart. You've been betrayed, you've been disappointed, you trusted and it didn't work out, you believed and they turn out not to be, this type of thing, Broken heart. They didn't love you, you loved them, they don't love you. Happens, right? And you think, okay, family members should be trustworthy, right? But they're not always, So trustworthiness is a little bit connected with love, you see, because if they love you, they should be trustworthy. They should be honest. They should be consistent. They should be present. There's a lot of shoulds, have tos, and musts in love. So love also presupposes a lot of expectations. So we want to be loved, we desire to be loved, but we will not really feel that too deeply because it's too painful, right? Yes? No? Yes? So to go deep into one's heart and realize that I am empty is not a very nice thing to realize, you see. But actually the whole thing about spirituality presupposes that people who are wanting to develop themselves spiritually recognize that they are having a problem of emptiness. People don't really like to admit that they are empty and weak and needy, desirous, because, my pet phrase that you will all learn pretty soon, toxic conventional morality. They're laughing because they've heard it a few times. So what I mean by that is there's some attitudes that are out and about in the general public that surrounds us, the people who present themselves as wise and knowing what's what, you see. And one of the messages that they give us is if you want to admit that you're weak, desiring love, needy, empty, then that doesn't look very good. So it's much better to deny it. That's toxic conventional morality. Is that right? Why it's toxic is because it's really not good for you to be that much untruthful to the self. Because if we're untruthful to the self, then we generally would be untruthful to the other people as well. So then we just deal in fake everything. And one of the things I hear from people who are interested in developing themselves spiritually is this phrase, I really want to be authentic. How does that sit with you? Does that suit? You would like to be authentic, you would like to be real? Yeah, I think you want to be real, but it's scary to be real. Because it means that you're willing to be vulnerable. And because of this, we're in a world really where everything is very insecure. We mentioned it just a little bit earlier, that there is a great feeling of insecurity in the face of the future because it's absolutely unknown. You do not know whether you will still have your job tomorrow, whether you'll still have your house tomorrow, whether all your family members will still be there tomorrow, whether you will still be there tomorrow. It's just very, very uncertain. And so this degree of uncertainty means that people are living in a state of anxiety. Low-grade anxiety or a high-grade anxiety, but anxiety. So when you live in a state of anxiety, you're not really peaceful. If you're feeling anxious and worried and so on, and then somebody gives you a lot of love, it makes you feel better, no? Doesn't change the situation at all. But you do feel better because when you receive love from someone, you feel a bit stronger. So love is an energy that makes you feel stronger, makes you feel better, makes you feel less uncertain, even though the uncertainties are exactly the same. And so this experience of the benefits of love causes us to crave it. So we may be addicts. Addicts, people who are looking for love, and it's never enough, you know. For addiction, they say 1 is too many and 100 is not enough. So, and people who love us, right, they extend their energy to us, make us feel better, they're nice to us, they give you a good hug, some presents, pay attention, ask you how you are, things like that, and then you feel cared for. But after a while it kind of fizzles out. Right? So, you know, they really can love us only a bit. And then they say, okay, now your turn, you love me. And then you can love them a little bit. And then you say, okay, now your turn, you love me. You know, and it becomes like less and less love available. So if you have a long relationship, it ends up pretty bad. Because no love left. You know, for many people. Occasionally you get people who figured it out and they still love each other after 100 years, you know. It's not often, but it exists. And so there are some secrets behind it which we could know about. But in spirituality, what we learn is that there's a very good source of love, which is the Supreme Being, Supreme Soul, who is also called the Ocean of Love. Yeah, have you heard that? Oh. The Ocean of Love means there is so much love that it doesn't matter how much you want, there's more coming. But what you want is access to it, you see. Because if everybody had unlimited free access with no conditions, you know, people are really keen on unconditional love. You heard about unconditional love? It's a total lie. There's no such thing. Sorry. Yeah. Love is absolutely conditional, so you need to know what are the conditions because you want it, right? So, to get love from another person, there has to be reciprocation. So we have to be able to give as much as we get. However, if we are pretty much empty and needy, doesn't matter how much we get, it doesn't really fill the hole in your soul so that you can't give it back. And the rules of love are that you have a certain amount of credit with different people, so you'll get a bit. But once you've had that bit, there's something that blocks you from getting any more unless you give back. So that's a condition, reciprocity. Did you know that? Yes, no? No. It's very important to know that. Even if you want to draw love from God, it's also reciprocal. So you can only take so much, and then it also is blocked. Then you complain, oh God, you don't love me enough. And God will say, you don't know the rules. Just find out the rules and you'll get more. Because if there's no reciprocity, there's a block, which is a law rather like the laws of physics. You know, you don't invent the laws of physics or decide upon them, you discover them. And they don't change whether you like it or not. They're just there. Right? Gravity is 32 feet per second whether you like it or not. You know? So love also requires reciprocity, whether you like it or not. So, if you know about reciprocity, then you will be figuring out what do you have to do to give the return of what you have received, and that opens up the doorway to receive more. Then you have to again reciprocate that. So you need to learn how to accumulate this power within so that you can give back. You see, giving back is very important. You know, in terms of people who want to achieve material success, you know, who wants to be a millionaire? A few people, right? Billionaire is not much. You want to be billionaire now. But anyway, however much amount of money you want to have, the reason why people want that is because they have heard that if you have a large amount of money, you will be proportionately happy. Right? And there are people who say, I've been rich and I've been poor and rich is better. But they always say that. But, you know, you can be very good at making money and you can make lots and lots of money, and then you check how much happy are you with how much money you've got. And what seems to be the case is that the real happiness comes when you have accumulated a pretty large amount of money and you can start doing charity. And then you start to actually experience happiness. This is what they say, you see. Because by receiving, you get quite a small amount of happiness, but by giving, you cause other people to be benefited, and then that energy that comes back to you from benefiting people takes the form of blessings, which makes you feel loved and happy. So this experience of love that people crave is actually very connected with giving. And you cannot give unless you have. So we try to accumulate so that it can be conveyed to others. But you cannot just give up everything, because then you will not be able to look after yourself. So that is not a good idea. You can only give when you have excess beyond what you need for yourself. So then you have to think about, well, what do you need? There is this wonderful word called enough. I know there are some people, they have enough money, but most people, they don't have enough money. Is that right? Have you got enough money? Yes, no? No, you would like more? But then it's very good to figure out, okay, what exactly are my needs? How much money do I need? How much space do I need? How much time do I need? How much food do I need? How many clothes do I need? How many shoes do I need? How many cars do I need? How many televisions and computers and cell phones and all the various necessary items in this world? What exactly do I need? Have you ever thought about that? and sit down with a piece of paper and write down exactly what you need, without worrying whether somebody would approve of it or not. We must stay away from toxic conventional morality, which means that you think about the people who are least likely to approve of it and worry about them. So don't do that. Really, honestly, write down, what do I need? All sorts of areas, what do I need? And then have a look at what I have, you see. And if you've ever tried to do an inventory of what you have, it'll take more paper than what you write down about what you need. Because we generally tend to acquire more things, right? And then it becomes clutter. And then you feel that you don't have enough space because you've got all this stuff which is taking up all your space. And you don't want to throw it away because it might be useful 10 years down the line. You know, but never is. And then when it's finally passed, way past its use-by date, maybe you'll throw it away. But if you feel very guilty about throwing it away, then if you use it, you feel guilty about that, because then that might be greedy. So in that way, we sabotage ourselves enormously. But love is also like a commodity. And one of the things that happens is we take it for granted when it's there. You know what I mean? It's there, you don't bother with it, you don't notice it, you assume it's supposed to be there because it's their duty to be nice to you. So then you don't count it as love. And then the amount of love that you think you need is minus all the part that you take for granted. So then there's not enough. Actually, you have more than you think, but if you don't know, because of taking for granted, then you don't feel the benefit of it. It's there, but you don't really kind of enjoy it. So this is something that's quite important to do, is to observe the self carefully, and it is said, count your blessings. So this is also something you can make a list of. All the different things that you enjoy. And of course all these things are relative. So if you compare yourself to somebody who doesn't have what you have, then it looks like you've got more. If you compare yourself to somebody who's got lots that you don't have, then it looks like you've got less. So the relativeness causes us to, in a way, deceive ourselves. So, you want love. Do you love yourself? Not really, right? No. Because people who love themselves, in toxic conventional morality, it's considered selfish. Yeah? If you do something good for yourself, people will say, don't be selfish. You know, or some young girl says, you know, I think I want a university education, don't be selfish. What? You hear that, you know. So toxic conventional morality does sort of create a sort of propaganda that causes people to sabotage themselves, and then they will feel deprived, although they are not actually deprived, or they wouldn't be if they hadn't sabotaged themselves. So as you can tell by the way I'm talking about it, I'm dead against toxic conventional morality. So what can we put in its place? Well, there are two things that I think are pretty good, and a few other angles on the subject. First thing is your conscience. Everybody has a conscience, right? But usually what we find is on a daily basis we do a few things that are against our own conscience. They tend to be very small things, but we do them. So whenever we do something that's against our own conscience, it causes our conscience to lose functionality. Then we cannot rely upon the inner voice. So one aspect of loving the self very, very much is to really listen to the voice of conscience and follow that voice. Because then you will not damage your inner voice. That means you can trust yourself. That means you love yourself. Why do people go against the voice of conscience? It's very often because it is told to them that you can't trust yourself. Trust us. Those who are called external moral authorities. They tell you, trust us, right? Don't trust yourself, trust us. Is that correct or not correct? And then what do? You say, okay, I won't trust myself, I'll trust you. And then do they betray you? Yes. Do you learn from that? No. Is that not strange? What do you think? So indoctrination is powerful. Don't trust yourself, trust us. We are not going to betray you. They betray you. You still trust them. And then you become one of them. And do that to the next guys down the line. This is a problem. This results in a society where there is insufficient love. So what will we do about that? So I suppose the insertion point is to develop a really good relationship with your conscience and follow it. And really go against this message which says, don't trust yourself. And you say to that message, go away. I will trust myself. But you might make a mistake, right? Fear of making mistakes. So what? I might make a mistake. None of your business. I have a right to make mistakes. I will trust myself. Can you do that? Yeah. Okay. Whoever died from making a mistake? A few people, but not that many, you know. Mostly from making mistakes you learn. But if you never make a mistake, then you'll always be very lacking in street sense, which puts you at a great disadvantage, right? If you don't make mistakes, that makes you really weak. And there are other people, they want to do everything for you. That really disempowers you. You become completely incompetent and incapable and dependent. That means they say, oh, well, I love you, so I'm going to do everything for you, but they end up making you so weak. Is that really love? Not really, no. So in our world, we have a pretty upside-down idea of what's love and what's not love. So we have to really rethink it. And to me, the first point of insertion is to listen to the voice of conscience. Because when you listen to the voice of conscience, you're going with yourself, not against yourself. Anyone who goes against themselves, they're divided against themselves, they're going to be weak. And making yourself weak, that's not loving towards the self, is it? No. We want to do whatever it takes to empower ourselves. This is why we want to educate ourselves. It's really easy to educate yourself nowadays because you've got Google, you've got Wikipedia, you've got anything that will tell you stuff. YouTube, if you want to figure out how to fix the plumbing, go on YouTube. It'll tell you. Right? Have you tried? You want to know how to make bread? Go on YouTube. Cake? Go on YouTube. You know, anything that you can think of, there's so many how-to. You know, how to speak French, how to speak English, how to, you know, open a bank account. I mean, everything it says. So a very, very good thing to love yourself is to educate yourself. Use these means, because in the olden times you used to be dependent on getting an opportunity to go to a school or having somebody who will tell you. Now if nobody will tell you, you can still find out. So that's good, right? But if we have a lot of opportunities and we don't use them, that's not loving the self, is it? Is it? No. So why do we not do it? I would again say toxic conventional morality, because it tells you you don't deserve to look after yourself effectively, isn't it? Tells you that. Stay dependent. Remain ignorant. Yes or no? No. Use. There's so much there. If somebody announces to you that they don't love you, which they sometimes do, right? Then what would you do? You would say, well, I am so lovable that if you don't love me, you have a problem, because I am really nice. Can you do that? Oh, you practice it. Because when they tell you we don't love you, you have a doubt. Oh my God, maybe they're right. I'm not lovable. If you do that to a child, they'll probably be traumatized by it. So don't do that. Now, in our society, they say if you're nice to children, it'll spoil them. It's a very peculiar idea. I don't know who came up with that, but it really stuck, you know. It even went into the scriptures, so it's been around for a long time. But actually, if you're nice to people, especially children, it's beneficial. But the message is, it'll damage them. And the research says the more you're nasty to children, the more it damages them. So that means we have to challenge some of these very well-established beliefs. Now, when a person has to challenge a well-established belief, you may feel that you're sticking your neck out. Yeah? Because the other people will punish you for it. But what will you do? What's better? To be true to yourself? Yes? But then you've had to pay. Is that okay? Have you got lots of money so you can pay for that? Yeah. So you need, it's not like it comes in dollars, but it comes in some kind of personal empowerment, some personal strengthening, that you build yourself up through a number of means, whereby you get this energy, this strength, this capacity to pay the price. Because it's actually far more expensive to do the right thing than to do the wrong thing. Even though they'll always tell you it's more expensive to do the wrong thing. It's actually more expensive to do the right thing. They tell you if you do the wrong thing, it's going to cost you. If you do the right thing, it doesn't cost you anything. Not true. If you have to be truthful, sometimes it exposes other people's untruth. They don't like that. They'll make you pay. Yes? So they threaten you with something or another. So you have to be very strong to be able to go against that, because if you don't love yourself. They will say, oh, you're selfish. But actually, you're being true to yourself, you're loving yourself, you're honoring yourself. Of course, you have to be fairly diplomatic about it, but there are ways to get through, you see. So being true to oneself is a very good aspect of loving the self. And when you love yourself and you honor yourself and you give yourself what you deserve, what you have a right to, and you learn how to, claim your rights and enjoy your rights, what happens? People start respecting you. Don't they? But you have to earn that respect. So we need two things I was telling you about that I didn't tell you what they were way back a few minutes ago. One of them is virtues, and another of them is powers. So on one side of the scale you've got toxic conventional morality, which is very popular, and on the other side you've got virtues and powers. What's better? Obviously virtues and powers, the way I put it. But where do you get those things from? Where do you find virtues and powers? On one level, you find them inside yourself, because you have a bunch of characteristics and personal qualities that are really very good, but you don't always develop them, because there's a great deal of propaganda out there to discourage you from developing your personal characteristics and your strengths. Because if you become an independent, virtue-based, powerful individual, then somebody's going to consider that you are a threat to them. You know. So people tend to prefer weak people. It's less of a competition. The world is very competitive. But really to love yourself means that you are up for all of this stuff that will come to take you down. And you will just come into your power and come into your virtues anyway. Because people are really good at getting you to doubt yourself. In a competition, if you can get the other guys to doubt their capability, then you're already winning. So people will do that rather than become better than you. They'll rather do that. But if you understand the game and you don't go for that, you get on with developing your virtues and powers, you do well. And even if people become jealous, this is another problem that happens. Somebody's jealous of you. How do you know if somebody is jealous of you? They try to harm you. So anybody who tries to harm you, immediately say, jealous. Okay, doesn't matter. What matters is if you don't know, then you can't do what you have to do to protect yourself. So protecting oneself is also a form of self-love. You see? And one thing that's very important, we think, here is meditation. Because in meditation, you're drawing spiritual power, spiritual qualities, spiritual energy into yourself. Because what we do really realize is that most of us are pretty much empty. And if you're empty, then you're going to be looking for a gas station. Because running on empty is not a good idea. So the gas station for a human soul is the Supreme Being, the Source, which I mentioned earlier, the ocean of love. It's an energy. And so if you learn how to plug in and draw that into yourself, I talked earlier about reciprocation, right? Or reciprocity. So how you reciprocate is quite interesting. You draw love into yourself and you start acting on the basis of that and loving yourself and being an example of somebody who understands how to love themselves. That is the reciprocity. You see. Take an ideal parent. Of course, we don't have any of those, but you can imagine what it might look like. An ideal parent likes very much if the child develops well, right? And the proof of that child developing well is they're competent, they're self-assured, they have all kinds of qualities, and they prove that they are able to take care of themselves. Then the parent says, I'm proud of you. You see? Even if that child is cleverer and more successful than the parent, the ideal parent will like that. I see. So a soul in relationship with the Supreme Soul, it's a bit like that. The Supreme Soul is like your provider, your parent, your mother, your father, who would like you to be the very, very best that you can be. And who gives you this unlimited ocean of energy. And then says, okay, now, work with it, do something with it, make me proud of you. That's the reciprocation. You see? So if we don't, then we can't get any more. But if we do, then yes, we get more. And so this is something very good. The other thing that you do when you empower yourself from your spiritual source is that you also do things which are beneficial to other people. You become an inspiration, you become an example, you become a resource, and then they benefit, which means that you have also reciprocated by enabling other people to be better off. And that also gives you more space inside to take in more, or you increase your capacity. So that there needs to be a flow. Like money, if there's a flow of money, then it increases. If you just keep it all under your mattress, it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't increase. And the economy stops. So this kind of spiritual economy where there is an enrichment of yourself and of those who come in contact with you, because you've understood about, the reciprocation or the passing on of your wealth. And then take a look at yourself and see if you are loved enough. You may say, well, my mom and dad didn't love me enough. Maybe they didn't. Who has ideal parents? Very rare, I see. But if you have learned how to look after yourself, whether or not they loved you enough, but did you love yourself enough? That's in your hands. You can't really do anything about other people's weaknesses. That's them, And you've got to get born somehow. You end up in this or that family. Nobody's perfect. But there's a lot that we can do for ourselves. And even when we do something good for ourselves, really love ourselves, and cause that energy to flow, it's also going to benefit the other people in the family who really don't know how to love, but they see an example of somebody who knows how to love themselves. And then if you get betrayed, which you will be, you say, okay, never mind. Doesn't make that much difference. Right? You say, oh, I don't want to be betrayed. But you will be. There's just plenty of betrayers out there, so don't expect that they won't be. There'll be people who will want to do you down. This is normal. There'll be people who will compete with you unfairly. This is also normal. There'll be jealous people who will harm you. There'll be greedy people who will steal from you. But, one of the other things that we do for ourselves is we learn about the law of karma. Have you heard about that? Law of karma? It's very interesting. And the law of karma is the law of action, you see. So if you do something good will come to you. If you do something not so good, then something not so good will come to you. It's just a law, like the laws of physics. So if you keep on doing good karma, regardless of what the other people are doing, whether they like it or not, whether they give you a hard time or not, you just keep doing positive karma, you can understand that it doesn't matter what bad things people do to you, your positive karma is pretty much going to neutralize it anyway. You see? And then somebody does bad karma, they do something against you, they will suffer. sometimes you take it upon yourself to suffer for somebody else's bad action, right? They do something bad to you and you suffer. But you can think that this is optional. It's not necessary to suffer for somebody else's bad action. It's something we generally do, but we really don't have to. Because they will anyway suffer for their negative karma. You suffer for it also. There's 2 times suffering for 1 time negative karma. That's not right. Right? So a very important piece of advice is if you want to really experience love, don't take sorrow. When somebody will give you sorrow, don't take it. That's very difficult because we're so addicted to taking sorrow. We have to give that up. And so you have to create little things in your head to turn it around, you know. Somebody will tell you you're a no good, useless person. And then you say, oh, my goodness, you're really blind. I'm terribly sorry about that. I'm very good. You can't see it? Oh, well, never mind. I can see it. You know? Do this for yourself. This is self-love. And then if they love you or they don't love you, because you love yourself, it doesn't really matter what they do. You see? Because you're not dependent on somebody loving you. It's nice if they do, but if they don't, it doesn't really make any difference. If you're dependent, it makes a huge difference. If you're not dependent, it doesn't matter. So then you ask yourself, is it preferable for me to depend or to be independent? What do you think? Independent. So then you have to ask yourself, check yourself. If it's really better to be independent, then am I? You see, because you have a lot of people in your life who will present themselves as those who love you. And, you know, they very often try and make you dependent. You know, because attachment, you know. So attachment is another word for dependency. And actually love is different from attachment. Because attachment makes you weak and it makes you suffer. Love makes you strong and healthy. And if you know, we had one point that came, we worried about the future. But if you're making good karma, often, then you don't know what the future is. But if you're making good karma, then whatever it is, it'll be good. Because that's the law. If you don't know about karma, and you don't know the difference between right and wrong, then you have a good reason to feel worried about the future. But because the future is the fruit of the seeds planted in the present, all you have to do is look at what you're doing now, and you can tell the future will be okay or not okay. So it's important to plant seeds, and then sunshine and water, and take out the weeds and look after your garden, and you will have a good future. Plenty of apples on your apple trees. You know? So I think that because we don't really think about these points, we become worried. But when we learn about this and start really taking care of ourselves on the basis of these laws, we can be quite secure in the knowledge that I've been doing good karma, so I really do not need to worry, even though from another angle everything is uncertain. But it is certain that you plant good seeds, there will be good result. You plant bad seeds, sure as anything, there will be bad results. So you decide what you want, and you plant your seeds accordingly. So I will stop there. Is that okay? Let's have a few minutes of silence just to reflect upon this.
So the good news is that it's going to be very soon on our YouTube channel. So if you want to watch it again, it will be on YouTube. So it's very useful. And I highly encourage you to re-listen to it and take a few notes so you can have the mapping. Because this is like if you want to go from here to there, a map is always very good. And I feel tonight was really mapping down how to get filled with love so that you can really lead a carefree life. So you didn't change really the topic. You just looked underneath and it said, okay, here's what I found. She likes to do that. Just lift up the rocks and see what's underneath. Thank you so much. It was really challenging. I know, it was very good, yeah. Now we have lots of homework. That's why she comes only once every few blue moons, you know, because we have to work on it until next time. But now we're becoming so better, you can go back next week. We'll be ready for the next lesson. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Good night.